let's just do a punch out here.
Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Ideafly Grasshopper F210 racing quadcopter, and obviously it does resemble a grasshopper, very much so. It has the mouth and the eyes, and they do light up, and then the winged back. But this one has made some news. I guess it's kind of kitschy cool because of the design. On RC groups, one of the things that has been talked about quite a bit is in the specifications, it lists this as having a speed of 230 kilometers per hour. If you're not a kilometers person, that is 142 miles an hour, and I think that would probably be a record for a quad. Maybe not, but I saw a video of one doing 100 miles an hour, and then it exploded when it hit the ground. But I wanted to show you this side first because it goes backwards, and then the arrow points forward, and then we flip it around, and it says it for that was interesting to me when I first looked at it. I was like, what's that say? Anyway, if you look at the carbon fiber, I don't think it's actually carbon fiber. I believe this is probably G10 or some other fiberglass. It's awful shiny and it's awful slick. It doesn't feel anything like the carbon fiber, and when I put my voltmeter on it, I get nothing. So I don't think it is carbon fiber. It has 2205. If I can show you that, 2300 kV motors. You can see from the nylon lock nuts that it does have reverse threading, and we have the Flycolor Raptor ESCs on here, and those are 30 amp ESCs. The camera is a little bit fuzzy. If you look at it here, it looks like, you know, an ever popular board camera like an HS 1177 or run cams that come in this kind of form factor. But oftentimes those cameras will have an area where we can plug in and program it for different conditions that are specific to us as pilots. I don't see that on this one, so we'll have to, and it doesn't say in the specifications whether it's a CMOS or CCD. We'll have to take a closer look at that. As I mentioned previously, there's some LED lights in the eyes, and they've done the antennas to look like the grasshopper here a bit. In the rear we also have some lights, and you see that we flip this up and it kind of contains the battery. And I have a couple concerns about that, but we'll get to it here. The VTX is right down here, and what they've done is they've heat shrinked it and then slid it onto this little tab, which makes it kind of a pain because to change it, I don't know about you, but this, let me get a pointer. I don't know if this is going to come out in video at all. I don't know if I can get enough light down there. You see that right there? That's the button to change the VTX. I don't know if it's got an LED display. I can't see it down in there. But the only reason why I know that's the button is because I can, if I get my finger on there just right, I can feel it. I can feel it. If I get my finger on there just right, trust me, if I get my finger on there just right, I can feel it. And if you look at it real close, it looks like a button. So that's how we change frequencies. That's not great because that's going to be kind of tough. And it looks like it's also set up for a right angle adapter right here to go through this hole. But if we put this down, even if we have the right angle adapter, we still have to angle this back. So I think just putting our antenna directly on here and just angling out the back will be sufficient. This features a F3 flight controller in here. And it's got a PDB down there. You see it says CC3D Beck 3 something. It's hard to say what that is. And then we've got a switch here that I presume controls lights. There is a CD that comes in the kit, so we can get more detailed. Here's our receiver, and this is a FlySky receiver, I'm sure. But this area concerns me a bit. Let me grab the battery. The kit does come with a battery. It comes with a 1300 mAh 4-cell battery, 45C. So if you, let's see, if you put this in here, no, you're going to have to go this way. So if we mount the battery in here, we better make sure this battery is secured down really well, because if it comes forward, if we crash, you know, nose first, which we often do, at least I do, in the crash videos I see we do, it's going to shear that off, all of that. And initially I thought, well, this is why they have the standoff, the really long standoff in here. That's not necessary. But that's not going to stop this big heavy battery. This has got to be 140 grams. Let's see. Let's see how heavy it is. 148.8. So pretty typical of a 4S battery. But if you have, you know, a full force at 230 kilometers per hour or something like that, I mean, this thing isn't going to stop until it ends up on the ground out front. So we might want to turn that over. That's what I would suggest. It looks like there's room to just turn the receiver over. We might have to do some reworking with the antennas down in here. But turning this over, I think, would be a better solution. I'm not sure what the receiver is, if we can do a single cable connection or not. But turning this over at the very least would be a good start. We've got a grommet back here to protect our battery lead from wobbling around. Something else, I'm not crazy about this. I've seen this with other machines, but nobody who builds does this, so I'm not sure why companies who are putting these together do this. These little pieces of foam tape to hold your ESCs down right below spinning props is just kind of a bad idea in my opinion. I think it needs to have something go around the arm to make sure that it stays down. These ESCs can possibly get warm. When you warm up adhesive materials, they get loose. And if you've got any flexibility in your cables, or you've got enough cable length to reach, it'll come up and catch in the prop, and then you bash the prop and you've probably killed an ESC. And then when you fall out of the sky, depending upon the height, you may have killed your quad too. Let's do some measurements. Make sure we're all zeroed out here. Looks like it's a 3mm arm, and the bottom is all one piece. Sorry, we're kind of close here. The plate up here looks like it's a 1.5 plate. And then these, let's see if I can get my calipers in there. This is 1.4. Do I have that? So 1.4 on the face plate, so to say. Let's discuss what comes in the kit. It does come with a carrying case, but it's really big, so I'll put a picture on the screen. And you can see in that carrying case, it comes with places for all the stuff that comes in the kit. It's the carrying case you see that comes with a lot of kits. It's red and black, and it says Ideafly on the front. And here's the radio it comes with. This is the FlySky. I think it's i6 or i6S, and it's a thin radio, and it's light. So I've used these in the past. It does work. I have increased the height of my sticks just because I like longer sticks. It's just how I fly. So radio. It does come with 2 sets of props, and interestingly enough, they say this in the specifications, it comes with the tri-blades and the single blades. Well, it's actually 2 blades. As previously mentioned, it comes with a 1300 mAh 4S battery, rated at 45C, but the ratings on the seat isn't always something we can do, rely on. And then we also have a charger. This is kind of the same charger you'll find in a lot of kits. This one does have switches though, so you can make a couple of choices about your battery, whether it's a LiPo or Li-Fi, and how many amps that you want to charge at. And then it gives us a little readout there. So it has a plug in the back to plug into the wall, and you plug in your balance or your positive and negative here through your XT60, and then you've got your balance lead over here. We also have a bag of goodies here. This is the DVD, which I presume contains either marketing materials or possibly instructions. We've got the battery charger instructions here. We've got a linear or whip antenna for our FPV. I'm not even going to use this. The last several that I've had like this have all been poorly formed, and the whip antennas or linear antennas that I just make here in my basement work better than these for some reason. Probably because the measured distance on the length isn't very good. This is our lead for charging, connecting our XT60s. We've got several zip ties in here which should go around the arms, so it's nice that they include them, but why didn't they just do it themselves? And then we've got Velcro, probably for batteries. I don't know. I would use several of these, and maybe even include some sticky mat pad or some. It's not adhesive, but it's a kind of foam padding that's pretty firm, but yet it's kind of tacky, and it really sticks well to the vinyl or plastic coating that we have on batteries to keep that thing from shifting forward. Otherwise, make sure that you reverse this receiver to where those pins point down, and there should be room in there from what I see. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lights while we're here. Got some nice bright greens, 3 of them there across the back. And we've got our red eyes. Let's make sure they both work. Yeah. So you can definitely see what this would look like flying through the air. It is, I said it earlier, kitschy cool. You know, it doesn't follow convention, and I have an appreciation for someone who tries to do something different, because quad design, we don't have a whole lot to work with, so doing something different is a challenge. And I can see where if you were doing a chase video or something like that, following and flying around something like this, it would be kind of funny and cool. Anyways, let's so we can see the radio still, or we can see the lights. Let's see what happens when we bring in our radio and we turn it on. Does it change in any way? Doesn't look like it. No light change. Nope, so they've got idle up set on this already, or okay, I'm going to show you this real quick. Oh, let me disarm. Alright, I'm going to bring this back into shot so you can see, and off screen I will do some throttle. Watch the eyes up here when you give it throttle. So that's what they're saying on their site, that you can tell how fast it's going by how fast it's blinking. Let's see, I've got my goggles out here. Let's see if we get any OSD or anything. Here, let me show you this. Can you see that, hopefully? I could just use the DVR, but it's really white. I mean, it's not white and black, as you can see down there at the lower part. It's got some color from the blue mat here. And then you can see on the wall the breaker box and the cement. But it is really, the contrast or brightness or sharpness is really high on this, possibly. But we'll take it outside and get a closer look, and I'll include DVR footage. Whoop, bumped the camera, sorry. Let's take a look at the weight of this thing. First we unplug. Turn off our radio. 323 grams flat without the battery. We add the battery. 472 grams. You probably could have done that math yourself. And let's see about getting some props out, because I am going to try it with the 3-bladed props. If I can get these all balanced on here. Excuse my hands. We got the nuts, the antenna, and I'll probably use a different antenna. 492.2 grams if you use it just as the kit comes. So the next thing we need to do is assemble it up. We'll go do some line of sight flying. That way you get to see the responsiveness. I really think that, you know, we always want to see the FPV footage, because that's cooler footage. But I don't think from a perspective of understanding how much power or lack of power or the agility. There's so much stick feel that goes into that. I really don't think that FPV footage helps us. But I will include it because I think everybody expects it. But I think that line of sight footage gives you a better idea because you can hear the spin up of the motors, you can hear the spin up of the props, and you can see how it reacts to that. The only other thing that I've thought about being able to do would be able to record my hands on the sticks, and I still think that would be a bit problematic because the little micro moves that we make when we fly, I don't think would translate very well in the video because I would still have to show the quad in the largest part, and then you'd have a little tiny box like you see from Thomas. Sometimes they do they show his sticks when he flies, and it's in this little tiny deal down here at the bottom, and you can see it to a degree. Not that it helps me because he flies mode 1, I believe. But let's take this outside, let's do a little line of sight, then we'll throw the goggles on, I'll hit the record button on the DVR, and then we'll do some FPV footage as well. Notice that I've got the cable all twisted up and then I wrap it around the far side. That should keep it pretty firm and in place so that you won't get them in the props. I have switched over to a non-standard. It's actually quite a cheap UFO FPV antenna. And we get a shot of the green lights outside here a little bit. And the red lights over there. And over there everything seems to be working. Let's see what she does. So they've got idle up on. No air mode is set, but air mode might be on. I think we're in some sort of stability mode here. It is pretty responsive. Now you can see that the backlight has changed blue because we're bound and flying, I guess. The throttle is very twitchy. Can't seem to find the right spot to just make it hover. Maybe it still wants to go up. Yeah, let's switch to a different mode. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Try that again. Boy, it is very twitchy in acro. You see that? So the rates are very docile in this mode. Let's just do a punch out here. Come out here a little bit. Well, I just don't know about some of these settings, and might have to dial this back a little bit. It's very, very twitchy in rate mode. But let's land it and give it a try anyways, huh?
Outside now, going to get ready to do a little FPV, and I'm going to take the opportunity to see what this camera does in sunlight. So I cover it up. Doesn't necessarily in direct sunlight adjust really fast, but it does a pretty fair job. So it's definitely not an HS1177, but it seems to be a fairly decent camera. Go through the flight pattern here within the yard, and just like in line of sight, it's kind of twitchy, and I have a little bit of a difficulty with it every now and again. You'll notice that through the flight. This is not the first FPV flight. I think this is the third. I used a couple of my own batteries, and then while that one was, the original was charging back up, came back to it here, just kind of bumping the throttle as we go down the center of the yard to see what it does. No hard punch outs or anything. I think we can all agree that this thing is not going to do 230 kilometers an hour. I think something just went awry there. Somebody inputting some data or something just kind of made a mistake. I need to turn up the yaw rate a bit still. I changed the rates a little bit because pitch and roll was so twitchy. I trimmed it down a little bit from what I'm used to. But I still need a bit more yaw, I think, in order to do the turns as I'm used to, at least. One of the things I was curious about with that canopy covering up the battery tray, is that going to act like a rudder? Is that going to steer us in one direction? Are we going to have a hard time in forward flight turning or banking? And it doesn't really seem to have any impact, so that's a good thing. I start to get a little bit more used to everything and traveling around the backyard here a bit. I think it's time that I'll just bring in some music and you can enjoy the flight. I believe that this is about a 6-minute FPV flight, and that's what several others. I did find that the battery, I don't know if I killed it by going too long, not on this flight, but in another flight, or if the battery just kind of gave up the ghost, because I did find that after one of the flights I went to charge it up, and my little meter said that it had one cell, that it was a 0.5 volts, and it would no longer take a charge. Although it would still detect the cell, it wouldn't charge that cell anymore. So it's effectively a damaged 3-cell now, or a damaged 4-cell. It operates like a 3-cell. So that's no good. Well, here comes the music.
what'd you think? You know, it's got this unique design, which is kind of kitschy cool, but it actually flies fairly well. You know, I can't fault it for any of the parts that they've used to put this kit together. If you're wanting to get into a pretty powerful 200 millimeter sized quad, this isn't a bad kit to get. The only thing I have a problem with is it appears as though it's glass fiber or G10. It's not carbon fiber. So when it comes to agility, this isn't going to be as agile as something that's lighter that's using carbon fiber. I did add some hot glue right down in here, and right up here you see it's a little bit messy. Those wires are so small that in my experience, over time, they'll wiggle in vibration ever so slightly, and then eventually they'll come loose. I did also take the heat shrink off and just use zip ties to put this on here. That way I can reach the button. Let me get my pointer again here. So the button, it's right here. And you can now press it a lot easier with your thumb or your finger to change channels, long press and all. And again, this is not what comes standard. It comes with a whip antenna, which was exceptionally poor, even for whip antennas. I said this in the beginning, but the ones I cut here at home tend to run better. I don't know if they're just mass producing those things so quickly that they can't get it right as far as the length goes, or if they just don't care. I don't know. I did also put the zip ties on, the ESCs, to hold them down. What else? Oh, yeah. Remember in the beginning, talked about flipping that over? Confirmed. You can flip that transmitter over. This way, if you have a crash and your battery ejects forward, these nylon standoffs in a violent crash definitely aren't going to keep that battery in place. You can use all sorts of materials here to try to, but eventually it's going to happen to where that battery, you go down, nose down, and the battery is going to just shear that stuff off. So save yourself some trouble, flip that over, and keep that receiver operating normally. You know, it's got solid performing motors running tri-blades on these 30 amp ESCs. They come down cool. The battery, like I said in the FPV video, kind of gave up the ghost after a few flights. I'm not sure if I did that or if it's just a faulty battery. The camera operates pretty well. I was a little bit surprised by that. I don't know what kind of camera this is. It doesn't have a plug in the back where we can plug in a cable to control for functions of programming the camera to respond differently, you know, brightness, contrast, WDR, any of those things. The lights work fairly well. So, you know, really, outside of it being kind of kitschy or unique, however you want to put it, you know, if you're interested in something like this, if this draws your eye, go for it. It flies perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And if this canopy breaks, you're no worse than anybody else who runs in the mini quad. You know, most of us don't have a canopy over here, so if it snaps off, you're still in the same shape you were before. You still have a perfectly flying mini quad. The radio is set up in this second position to use the barometer hold, I think it is. I don't know why you would have that in a mini quad. If you have experience using that, please comment down in the section down below and tell me why you would have that activated on a mini quad. To me, it seems like something you would use in aerial photography or something along those lines. I just don't know why you would have it on a mini quad. So this is your horizon, and then all the way down at the bottom is rate mode. And that's pretty much what you're going to see in all these. And I'll do a dump of the clean flight. It's actually running BetaFlight 291. Might not be 291. I'll include that down below. But it is running BetaFlight, and you don't oftentimes find these ready-to-fly kits being programmed or having the firmware updated to BetaFlight. So they did give it some additional thought into how to make this fly well. And I have appreciation for anybody who does something different. I did not fly this with two-bladed props. I just like the throttle feel and the punch and responsiveness of all quads, really, with three-bladed props. I guess not, I shouldn't say all. I have yet to find a good tri-prop for brushed motors. The only ones that I saw that were out there, they were terrible, so I didn't bother even making a video about those. So you might want to try that out. It might suit your flying style a little bit more. If you're interested in this kit, you know, like I said, you'll always be happier purchasing something that you like rather than buying something that someone else recommends. So if someone says, well, I don't like that because of whatever reason, that's still your choice. Choose what you like. You'll be happier in the long term. If you outgrow it or you want to go in a different direction, you can still do that. You can take the parts off of this, put it on a different frame, rework it, and then you're set to go with whatever different style you choose to. I'll put links to the product down in the description. Please put your comments down in the description. I did go for a flight in a big open field to see just how fast it was, and I took my pool noodles and I put them down arbitrarily in different lengths, kind of like hash marks from a football field or something like that. I take a couple flights, I come home, I review the footage, but there's no footage to review. My apologies. I've got nothing to show you when it comes to just straight line runs. But I think we can all agree 230 kilometers per hour is just not going to happen. Not with any RTF. There's one that I think did over 100 miles an hour, and that one was built specifically for speed. I think the arms were actually vertical so that they could fly it like this, and then there wouldn't be any of this drag on the arms. I think it was also running 6S, and we're not going to be doing that with this. Questions and comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.